Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Jolene Wadds. Jolene is a mom, a wife, and a highly decorated DIY amateur exhibitor. Jolene has had success bringing along many different young horses into the all around world. Most recently, she found herself in the winner's circle with Scotch and Cigars, a horse that she bought at the NSBA yearling sale, brought along herself, and ended up back at the NSBA World Championship show with a boatload of prizes. Jolene, can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to take this route of picking out a yearling and then coming back 2 years later to show at this show?
Yes, definitely. So this is actually my third yearling prospect that I've bought through the NSBA sale. It's the payout at the end that really inspires me to do it. But the first horse I was able to buy through the NSBA sale, I got him for $2,600. And I showed him as a 2-year-old, and ended up getting a really good payout in his 2-year-old year. I think it was around 7,000 or something. And so that really inspired me to kind of keep going like, hey, I can do this because I, at the time, and still kind of don't have a huge budget. And at that time, I was still, I was coming back into horses after a 10-year break. And, so I was just trying to get back in it somehow. And I just found this horse that went for next to nothing. And I was able to turn around 18 months later and show him at the NSBA World Show. Then I bought my second horse out of that sale a couple years later, and we ended up showing in the sale class, but I elected for the wrong class because he ended up falling down in the hunt under saddle, the class that I elected for the money. And I should have done it for the pleasure class because we ended up third, I believe. So that was kind of a little bit of a learning curve, but that's okay. That's kind of part of it. You have to strategize to kind of elect what class you want to elect for that NSBA sale money. This year was no different when I entered in two BCF classes. One of them was the 3-year-old non-pro limited Western Pleasure, and the other one was the BCF 3-year-old non-pro Western Pleasure. I had chose the regular non-pro because there was only 14 in it versus the limited non-pro and there was 40. So I elected for the smaller class but tougher competition because all we really had to be was top 10 in order to get the sale money. And it worked out really well. So
Yeah, that's crazy. So, what do you look for when you were picking out these horses?
conformation, body size, temperament. Well, I say these things, but Ziggy, as we call him, my current horse, my mom was with me, and I gotta give her a lot of the credit because I didn't remember him in the sale preview, and he comes in the ring on sale day, and I thought he was a nice horse. He was bright red, which is a little bit out of my comfort zone. I'm a bay horse girl and have had a lot of bays, and he's got 3 white legs that come up to the knee, a little bit past, and a white base. So it was a lot of color for me. But my mom was like, "Hey, look at this one." And I was like, "Oh, he's cute, and he's just a little jig jogging, he has this tight little jog and he was fat and adorable." And nobody was bidding on him, and my mom's like, "You need to bid on this one." And I was like, "Okay." So I bid, and I got him for 4,500, which was
Wow.
really awesome because, again, I don't have a huge budget. And yeah, so I feel like I kind of stole him a little bit because he's turned into a really fantastic animal, great-minded. I have to tell this little story because when I bought him, we brought him to the stalls the next day, and we were in the Sagnet barn, and he was a couple aisles down. There was an empty stall down there, and he was trying to kick the stalls down like he was not a happy camper. And I was like, "Oh my God, what did I just do?" But we got him home, and he's been a perfect gentleman ever since. Probably the best-minded horse I've ever owned. So very, very fortunate to have him just kind of fall in my lap like that.
Yeah, that's so cool. Interesting how you said at first he might have been a little bit spicy and then now he's just got a great mind.
Oh my gosh, he's great. I was over in the corner at the Bronco barn talking with somebody, and I was riding him, and we were standing there at the Bronco barn. This tells you a little bit about his mind. And Jamie Dowdy's son was playing ball with another kid, and the ball comes flying at his face and within a few inches, and it bounced off the railing, but it was right next to his face, like flying ball at my horse. And he just kind of like popped his head up a little bit and looked over and didn't do anything. And I'm like, oh, that just tells you how drunk he is. So that was like kind of cool too. I was like, okay, well, his value just went up a little bit. He's broke a flying ball.
Absolutely. Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends. So, how often do you get to work with your horses? Are they at your house or where do you keep them?
Yeah, so I board my horse at Cool Ranch right down the road from me. They are 6 minutes away, and I am there about 2 to 3 times a day. And I'll go there. It's probably averages around 1 to 2 times a day, but before a big horse show, I'm there about 3 times a day. I work from home, so it's really nice to be so close. And on my break at work, I'll go and saddle them, leave them tied for a little bit, and then come back on my lunch break to ride, and then maybe do showmanship in the afternoon and kind of break it out that way. And I'm there 7 days a week. And on Sundays, I turn them out. Usually during the day in the summer times, it's really hard to turn out here during the day in Texas. So I'm there a lot.
That's so nice, though. And that probably contributes to him being so broke and just the trust that he has in you.
Absolutely. Like in the beginning stages through his 2-year-old year, I just kind of sat back on him a little bit. I didn't push him. He wasn't going to be a 2-year-old. He wasn't ready to be pushed. So I just got him broke to ride. He knew his lead, steer, stop, back, that sort of thing. I took him to a couple shows. And I also had my other all around horse at the time that I was showing. So when it came to January of this year, that's when I really started to push him and move his hips around, ride him 2 or 3 times a day. Not every day, of course, but when I kind of thought he needed it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, where did you learn to bring young horses along, and who do you reach out to in the process when you have issues?
Yeah, so my parents are horse trainers, Gordy Wadds and Kim Kennedy. We showed a lot as a youth kid, and we were gone all the time showing horses. But I learned a lot of like the horsemanship, and I don't mean the class, I mean as in like, general horse handling and how to do things correctly from my dad. He is a great horseman. And my mom, formerly Kim Wadds, now Kim Kennedy, we travel a lot of the horse shows together. I learned so much from her. And I also pay attention. I have open eavesdropping ears at horse shows. I listen to coaches. I listen to trainers talking to their assistants. And as far as like the breaking goes, I kind of knew how to do things as a youth kid because I had broke quite a few horses of my own as a youth. But I really learned a lot when I came to Texas in 2008. Bill Caven taught me a lot. And after Bill Caven, I kind of took a break for a while and had my daughter, and I came back into the horses. Troy Oakley has been amazing. More so recently, I had an old cowboy friend that kind of broke down the slow, and I say painful, but it's just slowly, like very slow, quiet breaking of the 2-year-olds, and just really taking your time, doing the groundwork, having them be comfortable with you and all of that. It does take a lot of groundwork, and I just kind of just did it. And the finishing a Western pleasure horse most recently was Troy. He's been amazing. I learned so much, and I just have to say, Western pleasure is hard. And it is so hard, but so amazing once you feel that finished product. And once you kind of feel what it's supposed to feel like, you're like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing in the entire world. But it's been really great. I've had, and I'm probably missing somebody that has helped me, and I apologize, but I've had a ton of mentors and just people guiding me along the way, and that I can reach out to if I need help or stuff, and I don't ride the 2-year-old at the very beginning stages by myself. I absolutely will not do that. It's the number one rule. I had gotten into an accident with one. I wasn't by myself, thank goodness, but I was thrown off of one that I was starting, and I got hurt pretty bad. I almost broke my neck. Thankfully, I did not break anything, just a lot of pulled ligaments in my neck. So I kind of struggle with neck pain as a result of it. Thankfully, for chiropractic and physical therapy and deep tissue massages, I'm able to kind of stay good. So, but I always make sure I have somebody there with me. In the first few rides, I'll have somebody walk me around. If it's one that I don't feel super comfortable with, I might have them lunge me, but I really try not to do that too, because that can also be dangerous if they were to whip around the other way, get the rope stuck and all of that. So you just have to kind of know your horse, know their triggers, know if they're ready, do all the groundwork over and over and over again to kind of get to that point. And thankfully, Ziggy was really easy for me. He was such a good boy. He's never bucked. He's never crow hopped. He's like the perfect gentleman. So he really kind of made it easy for me this year or last year when I was breaking him.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So sometimes after an injury like that, or after you're in some sort of a horse related accident, it can be really hard to come back from it mentally and physically. So did you struggle with that at all coming back after you were rehabbed?
With that injury, yes. And then when I had my big break from horses, after my youth career, absolutely. I mean, that was also mentally scary because I felt like I had this big, huge reputation to stand up to, and that am I good enough? Can I do it? I struggled with that for years. And now I think, with therapy and having the support system that I have behind me really has helped a lot, and just kind of reminders, and I have to tell myself you can do it, and you have done it and you did really well as a youth. And eh, I try not to think about that too much. I try to think about moving forward and where I'm at today. I've got a family now. I have a full-time job and full-time like DIY horse trainer, And so I just have to kind of put things into perspective, take one day at a time, because there will be days that aren't so great. Sometimes weeks, sometimes injuries happen to you or the horse and there are setbacks. But I've kind of learned to take things one stride at a time and just take it with a grain of salt. Like it's not the end of the world. There's always tomorrow. And tomorrow we can be better. And if it's not, that's okay too. So, if I have a bad ride or something happens or something doesn't look right, I just have to kind of channel those nerves and energy into the positive. I'm a very optimistic person, and I'd like to say I'm positive because I really try to be that way every day, even if the day is not great. So I think I've really grown over the last few years with that mindset, and as a result, it's made me a better human and person and rider. So you just kind of have to learn how to channel those doubts because they really like to creep in, and they crept in. And I'll tell you, at the World Show this year, the morning of the 3-year-old non-pro BCF class, the one that we did really well in, That morning, I felt like I was just nitpicking, like, every stride wasn't great, and I was like, "Gosh, can I do this? Like, this is the class that I elected for the sale money. I don't know if I'm good enough." Like, all the doubt just comes rushing in and just kinda hit me really hard, and then when I got back to the stalls, I took a few deep breaths, and I said, "You know what? You know this horse inside and out. You ride him every day and you will be fine." And I just had to give myself that little pep talk like, you are great. You are worth it. All those little things. You've done the homework. And that was, kind of the thing too. Like, you work hard every day, even if it's not a great day at the barn or home life or what have you. You just have to show up every day. But I just feel like you just kinda have to channel that energy into something positive to turn that day around, and sometimes it is very hard to do that, and it takes a lot of practice.
That was really impressive. I think that's something all of us strive to accomplish, right? Is being able to feel ourselves spiraling and then pull ourselves back together and give ourselves that pep talk. Who kind of showed you how to do that? Or what was the process and you figuring out what worked for you to be able to get back on track? Because obviously, like you said, you had put in the effort, you had put in the time, you knew what to do, and you went out there and did awesome. But if you hadn't gotten yourself back on track, that might not have been the case. So how did you learn the tools to be able to do that for yourself?
I think it's just knowing myself, knowing myself well enough. And I've always been a thinker, ways to come out of a certain situation. And I think horse training has taught me that. If something isn't working, do it a different way. And I think that has transpired into my personal, like, self mindset on how to overcome those obstacles. I don't really know if there's a certain thing or someone who's taught me that I can think of. I just think that's something that I've learned over time, and in horse training, probably just training my horses every day and trying to think outside of the box and like, okay, it doesn't have to end here. This is not the end all be all. There is another way out. You just have to know how to stop yourself when you feel those doubts come in. And it is not easy, let me tell you, but you just have to know when to say, whoa, and just say, "Okay, it's time for you to take a few deep breaths, maybe take a walk, check the water, do something." I'm one of those people that can't stop moving. There's always something that needs to be done. Pick the stall, which is my favorite time at the horse show because I can kind of reflect and some quiet time to just kind of see where I'm at mentally and physically. So it's just something that I've kind of learned over time, I think.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And by talking to a few other DIYs and then myself doing it too, I think you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about how with these horses, you learn that there is always a way to figure out how to get it done, right? It might not be the way that you're initially thinking, but if you can take a step back and look at it differently, you can get somewhere with your horse. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but there will be progress. And I think a series of those events happening over and over, it does kind of teach you when you get in a bind, let's take a step back and reevaluate this because this is figure outable. I just need to be sound enough in my own mind and thoughts to be able to figure it out.
Absolutely. And there are those times where like I get so stuck where I can't pull myself, like if I'm running into an issue with the horse or what have you, pull somebody else in, make a phone call. I have my parents, which are amazing and always there for me. I've got Troy Oakley in my corner. I've got Blake Wise down the road. I've got these people that are just happy to say, yeah, why don't you try this? Or why don't you do that? Or let me see what he's doing, and just we're a huge family, and especially being right here in Pilot Point, kind of nice because like, everybody's 10 feet away. So there are always those options, or you video your horse if you're not close to somebody on what problem you're running into. Reach out. There's always those professionals that are willing to help and step in.
Definitely. It's such a open community where if you do just ask, people are willing to help you because everybody does want to see you succeed. Nobody wants to just watch you struggle. And so if you reach out, you're more than likely going to get a helping hand.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pin anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Yeah, and then
Definitely.
Troy Oakley is fantastic. So he's kind of my trainer's trainer. So we're out in Oregon, and I think it was like 6 months ago, something like that. He came out and did a clinic with my trainer and watched her ride all of our horses in the barn. And even though I wasn't able to go and be a part of that, Savannah, my trainer, has taken a lot of his
Mhm,
knowledge and implemented it into her clients and all of the horses. And literally
mhm.
the most helpful thing, it's totally transformed my writing. I'm sure you've heard him talking about, like, inside eye to outside ear, and, using that for, like
Yes,
Yes, yes. So using that for, like, lead changes or going around a corner.
everything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I kind of have always struggled
It
with the
changed my
horse.
life. That
Oh my god. Totally
Do you
changed
ladies want to
my
share this with us?
Yes, yes, I'm getting there. So I have always had a problem with the horse's rib cage as I'm going around a corner falling into the inside and the horse kind of bending around to the outside. Like, I've just always struggled with it. And I realized that it was because I was collapsing my inside rib cage, which wasn't allowing me to shape around the corner very well. And then, like, it's just something that I've always kind of struggled with. And then Savannah was like, hey, like, let's try this thing that Troy told me. Like, instead of looking to the inside of the turn, look to the outside of the turn and inside eye to outside ear. So if I'm going to the right, and I'm gonna put my right eye to the horse's left ear, and that's gonna help stand up the inside of my body so I don't collapse inwards, and then I don't have that problem anymore, and I'm like, "Holy crap, like, this is
Yeah.
amazing."
That little move right there changed my life. I was like, "Oh my god," and he's so simple and clear and, like, just, mind blown every time he says those little things that make a huge difference, and it changed the way I ride, and, like, I am so excited to after NSBA, Ziggy gets to start his all-around career. He doesn't know it yet, but he gets to start his all-around career, and I'm so excited to do the horsemanship with X because of those little things, like, I didn't realize how much we want to dive to the inside when we go around the
Oh,
corners or straight lines if we're
totally.
on the left lead or right lead.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's quite amazing, and even the lead changes, like, I'm gonna be starting lead changes on him this week, maybe next week, we'll give him another week, but, it's amazing how much I dip down to the inside, because I've got tight hips and, that sort of thing, so looking to the outside or sometimes even further to the outside to kinda over exaggerate it a little bit was a game changer. They completely changed his movement, and I was like, "Oh my god." It was incredible. So, anyways, he's quite amazing teacher.
Yeah, and then it was super helpful for me in the lead changes as well. So during the change, you would change where you were looking as you were changing leads. So if you're, on the right lead and you're about to change right to left, you'd change from looking at the left ear to then the right ear. And it was just like it's really hard to train your eyes to do that because there's so many other things going on in the lead change. Like I get stuck just wanting to like look straight forward, and that was actually, like, really helpful because then it just helps with the transition of your body to go from loping one way to then loping to the other. I don't know, it's so cool.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, definitely get that, and there's so much that goes on in that, and, like, looking straight forward is one of my biggest problems because, well, all around horsemanship, everything is straight
Right?
lines, and when I when I transitioned, because I've just been doing Western Pleasure, this year because that's what we've been going for, NSBA. So, which is we can talk about that too a little bit, but it's really different for me because I had to teach myself to look down, which is completely out of my comfort zone. to see where his head is, to make sure he's not too low and make sure we're in the right spot or whatever. And so, yeah, it's been a game changer.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about that a little bit, how you kind of have to change what your body does and how your mind thinks for the all around classes versus the pleasure. What are the major differences that you notice that you have to change?
Well, keeping an eye on his head to make sure he's staying level, making sure he keeps it up. That was very interesting because, if you notice people like when they're standing still, for example, they'll close their legs and their horse's head goes down. We do it for the trail, we do it for everything, right? So, um, one of our first, I wouldn't say our first sessions, once we started getting really broke towards the pleasure, Troy was out there and he's like, okay, we've got to stop this right now. So, we got him to where when you squeeze, he brings his chin and neck up. And that was very cool. And yes, his head will go down if I were to put my hand forward, but we had to restructure my thinking on that a little bit. I didn't realize, and I always wonder, I'm like, how do they get those top lines in the Western pleasure? They don't move, you know? And, they're not pushing those necks down, the squeeze with the legs, spurs kind of bring that belly up. And when that happens, they need to stand up and be square in their shoulders. And how you can do that is, or what we did may not work for every horse. I'm not a horse trainer, so but what we did is that we started a walk, jog, extended trot. I would do like a Romal rein. I would put my reins in my right hand, thumb on top, and down on his neck, and then with my left hand would have the end of the reins, and I would pulley them through my right hand and push him up to that bridle with my legs. And he couldn't go down, but he had to stand up and push forward through it. We did that with square corners, clover leaves, and just making him stand up and not drop those shoulders and just be really square. And, worked on that all the way up until the day that we showed. My horse is very lazy, very, I don't want to say tough sided, but very dull. And so we kind of had to flip flop spurs to, once we got him light, then I'd go to a duller spur. But once he got dull, I'd go to a sharper spur and just trying to keep that belly up, keep those shoulders up and square. And in return, keeping that head and neck up and getting him pushing and driving through those shoulders and head and neck. The end result was really cool with that is it was when we put a hackamore on him and he kept his up, and then he stuck his nose out, and he stayed there, and that was really cool to see. I remember this one time we were getting, again, pretty broke, and Troy comes over to me and he goes, "Don't get nervous." And I'm like, "Okay, what are you about to do?" And he pulls my bridle off. And I'm like, "Okay," like, not the first time I've rode bridleless, but the first time I rode bridleless on this horse. I was like, "Okay." He goes, "Now lope off." I'm like, "All right, no warm up, nothing. Let's do it." And he stood up and he no pressure. I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, let's do it." And I loped him off and he was great. He didn't go anywhere. And he's like, okay, well, now you know that your horse isn't going to go anywhere. You can start learning to trust him a little bit, which is kind of hard to do when you go from training your horse. You're like, got your horse trainer hat on and you're, training him to do this and working. And then all of a sudden you got to put trans down. and, and you got to work off your legs and you got to show him. That can be very difficult too, because like here you are trying to correct him from not dropping his shoulders, keeping his body up, all these things. And then all of a sudden you have to only do it with your legs. And that was very interesting to me when Troy had taught me, which I kind of knew this, but I don't think I really, well, I know now, I never really implemented it. But inside leg was my brake, outside leg was my gas. And that was a little bit of a learning curve too. But in the end, it was so cool because I had those brakes and fresh brakes and a little gas if I needed it. So when I go to my inside leg, he would come up and back to me, and then I had my outside leg there to push him forward through it. So that was very eye-opening perspective on things. And I'm really excited now that we have those buttons there to go and start doing the all around stuff because he's basically ready. He has all the things there. I just got to put them all together in a pattern. And like I was thinking about going to the Texas Classic this week, and I was like, I want to show horsemanship. Like chomping at the bit. Like I know I just got home from NSBA and had a great show. But I'm like, I want to go do it. I want to throw an English saddle on him. I think he'd be so cute with the English saddle. Like I want to do the equitation and so just to kind of test those buttons out in a pattern atmosphere, I think it's going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. I think that's so cool. And I love how you broke everything down. It makes so much sense. And I'm wondering if taking those things that you learned, do you think that that's going to up his style level in the all around classes?
Oh, 100% because he is very scopy. He's got a great head and neck on him. And, I think once I throw that, I'm going to ride him English Saturday and my mom's going to be coming this week. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you're coming because we need to video this. And like, I just want to see what he looks like, because he's going to have that head up and he's up in his shoulders already and he's very square. And I just think he's going to be gorgeous. And with all those little buttons that we have on him, it's just going to be, he's going to walk into that so much smoother, teaching him the all around first versus the Western pleasure. And I think the Western pleasure trainers say this a lot too. Like the all around trainers want their all around horses to do the pleasure first. Well, now I kind of see why. At first I was like, whatever. Because like I all around all the time, and I'm like, okay, but now I kind of see why because they have those come here buttons and stand up and slow down, and he can turn around. I haven't really had to teach him, like technically teach him how to turn around because with all the things that I've put on him, he just did it. Like the first day, I don't know if it's Troy or my mom was here, and they're like, "Turn him around." I said, "Okay." So I put my spur on him and he just like whipped right around. I was like, "Holy shit." Sorry, I don't know if I can say that, but I was like, "Holy shit." It was awesome. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be so much fun once we move into that all around." So I think it's gonna help him tremendously. It's gonna be a really pretty picture once we step into that. So
And can you imagine with getting those shoulders up and everything, how I think easy lead changes are probably going to be, or easier than they maybe would have been?
yes. Oh, yes, for sure, and with him being so lazy, I have attempted it a few times, and we have gotten him, but now that he's broker or more broke, I think it's just gonna be like, "Okay, got it." And he's so smart, so it's like once you kinda show him what you mean, he's like, "Okay, I got it," like he reads the rule book at night or something. So,
That's so
I think it's
great.
gonna
I
be
love
very
that.
easy for him, to change leads.
Oh, that's going to be a blast. We can't wait. We
Yeah.
can't wait to see all of that. It's going to be great. So, Jolene, since you've done this a few times now, what advice do you have for other DIY amateurs who are looking to kind of maybe try the same process of picking out a young prospect, bringing it along, and then ultimately showing it at a major event like the NSBA World Show?
I would have to say, know what you're looking for. You need something, I come from a racehorse background while my grandparents are racehorse people and trainers. And they always tell me when you're looking at a horse, you start with the feet and go up, legs up. They got to be straight, they've got to be square. Conformation is so important. Mind is important, even though it's kind of hard to tell what their mind is like when they're running through a sale. But you just kind of have to know what you're looking for, and if you can do it, seek help from a professional. I've been blessed to have horse trainers as parents, so I kind of grew up just hearing, of all the lessons and the teachings going on with myself and their clients, and just kind of absorbing all of that knowledge. I've got 3 generations behind me of horse knowledge, so it's all kind of encompassed into me. If you're wanting to go out and do DIY, just make sure you have the right tools, the right knowledge tools. I don't want anybody to go out and buy a yearling that's never broke a horse before. It can be very dangerous. It can be very hard, especially if you're not really sure what to do when certain situations arise. I've been doing this my whole life, starting on young ones and competing with young ones. So I'm very familiar with how a young horse's brain works. No two horses are the same, but I guess if you have that knowledge and have that expertise or that support group around you, definitely try it, but don't be afraid to ask for help because it is very hard. You are going to run into obstacles every day, and you just have to know how to ask those questions, who to ask, and get that assistance from a professional. When I bought Ziggy 2 years ago, obviously this was the end goal, but did I really think that there was a chance that it could not happen? Absolutely. I mean, you buy one, they could die tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen, or there could be an injury, or he's not a pleasure horse. I might have had to show a 15-2 in the hot seat. I don't know. you know, so it's just there's so many variables and it's all a gamble, a very big gamble. But I guess the biggest advice is do not be afraid to ask for help. That's the biggest thing. The worst thing that they're gonna tell you is no. And that's kind of been a huge a learning thing for me. Like I was so afraid of the rejection, but then I realized that I didn't hear no a whole lot. And then, or maybe like, hey, I can't right now, but maybe next week or, Saturday or whatever. And I just learned to be okay with that. And it's okay, if you need help. A lot of the time, 90%, 95% of the time, I don't hear the word, no, I can't help you, or no, I don't want to help you, or anything like that. That's rarely ever the case. So there are those people out there that are willing to assist.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about just having a community. And I just love that you have built that around yourself. And it's been so nice that you can grow up in it and then also now raise your daughter in it and be able to kind of have it be full circle and just see the family that you can put together.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been a process. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I wasn't in the horses anymore, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to ever afford to do this on my own. And I had some really great people step in and give me a leg up back into it. And they've been in my circle ever since. My family has been amazing. My friends, I had friends from home who don't know anything about horses watching the live feed. And I was just like, oh my God, you guys are so awesome. Just having that support system around you. I had so much fun at the NSBA this year. This year was probably the most fun that I've ever had at a horse show in a really long time, to be honest. Only doing one event, I did show halter, but one event, the pleasure, was really interesting turn of events for me because I mean, usually we're having to get into 15 different arenas, practicing all the patterns, doing all the things. And I really got to sit back and just kind of relax a little bit and really reflect on how amazing my family has been and my friends and just that support system that has been built up over time to kind of see it at play this past horse show. My brother, he was there, he's my twin brother, and he was there whatever we needed to do. And we were at the horse sale and he was all into it, writing down the prices or wanting to know the tea or all that. And it was just so much fun. And the whole 2 weeks he was there. He doesn't ride or anything, but we really did have a blast. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think sometimes that we tend to forget that. So I kind of had a chance to slow down at a major horse show and focus only on one thing and then kind of relax and then focus on one thing and just kind of take a step back. It was really refreshing. And I think I needed that, to just kind of have not so much pressure. I mean, there's pressure there, but maybe not so much to perform the best in 10 events, was really nice to have. But now moving forward, we're going to do all the things.
I was just gonna say, did that inspire you to do less or do you still want to do it all?
When I was there, I was like, I could get used to this. And then when I got home, I was like, who am I kidding?
We must do it all.
Yes, yeah, I was like, "Who am I kidding? I need to do the horsemanship. I need to get a lead change. I need to, all the things." So,
Exactly. I'm sure you got the award for the cleanest stall there, though.
yes, my soul was spotless.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopindowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
That's awesome. I love it. So I guess the big question is, did you buy a horse in the sale?
I did not. No, I tried. I tried really hard. But I actually went in there with a very small budget because, my first horse I bought out of there was 2,600. My second horse I bought it for 10, and then Ziggy I bought him for 4,500. So I was like, I'm just gonna go in there with a $5,000 budget because, I'm broke. And I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna go in there, and if I can find something, great. If not, that's okay too. Like, I kind of had to be okay with not finding anything because I kind of had a feeling, honestly, that I may not, under that. I really feel like those prices that I bought my previous horses at was really a diamond in the rough. There were a lot of nice horses in this sale. And I tried, but they just went over. And there was a couple times I'm like, I can up my budget a little bit, can I? I'm like asking myself if I can up my own budget. And I'm like, no, Jolene, you have to stick with it because, if you don't buy one, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to be horseless because I still have Ziggy. So it would have been nice to find one, but there's a reason for it that I may not have found one yet. So I just kind of have to be okay with it. And maybe next year. Or maybe I can find one that is for sale that's a sale graduate or, something along those lines, that's a 2 now or, but I'm not in a hurry, which is really nice to have to know that I'm not in a hurry.
The best place to be.
Yes, and that's another thing kind of what my goal has been with this current horse is I'm not in a hurry. I'm a little bit more financially better off than I was, previously, so I don't have to rush to sell this horse in order to keep paying for it. Yes, they are always for sale, but this one is very special and I haven't advertised them. If somebody came to me that I thought was the right home and the right situation, then I would probably do it, but I would be very sad because he's amazing. He's probably the best horse I've ever swung a leg over, to be honest. The reason why I'm saying all this is I get to take things slow, and that's why I kind of haven't pushed the all around stuff on him until now after NSBA because I don't have to hurry and get that all on him in order to make him marketable. I can hang on to him for a little bit, and if I don't find another horse right behind him, that's okay, because then I can go have fun and use the money I do have to go show him next year, So,
And you were saying that your neck still hurts and that you have a few kind of things from that accident. Do you work out currently or do anything to kind of assist your body to be able to still compete and do all these things at a high level?
well, I was afraid of this question because I know you girls do all of that thing. But I will be honest with you, I don't work out as much as I should, but I do chiropractic. I have a really wonderful chiropractor that uses the little prongy tool instead of like actually like twisting you. And he actually, I don't know what that little tool is called, but it's got like two little prongs on it or a prong, and they like it like, like I don't know, it adjusts you through a tool versus like twisting your neck and twisting your body. After that accident, I went to him the next day and I've never been to him and didn't even realize he used a tool. But when I went to him, he was like, they took x-rays and they're like, nothing's broken. And my neck was like This happened, how long ago was this now? Maybe 3 years ago. It happened like a week before we went to the March to the Arch, maybe a week and a half before we went to the March to the Arch on a different horse. This was not my show horse. I was helping out a friend, and so it was kind of a freak deal. And so I did the chiropractic, and I also did massage to kind of loosen those muscles up because they were spasming, they were angry, like the top of my neck down through my shoulders, and massage helped me a lot. I probably should have done physical therapy, to be honest with you, but chiropractic and massage is really what got me through. And then once my muscles and ligaments kind of healed and weren't as angry, my chiropractor kind of taught me some stretches to do that were gentle. I work on a computer all day, so that's not great for me either, especially with riding and then my injury. And so I ended up getting a kangaroo desk to where I can stand up, sit down, look up. Like my screens are a a little bit above eye level, so there's no looking down for me, which is very crucial. We're on our phones a lot, and even, like, with my daughter, I'm like, "Quit looking down, you're gonna ruin your neck." And I think I got a little PTSD from that even though with my neck injury, but I always try, like, if I'm looking at a book or reading a book or looking at my phone on my computer, I really try not to look down because if I do that enough now I'm a lot better, like, there's only times if I get really tight or don't stay up with my stretching. Oh, and I do yoga. I do yoga. I forgot that part. So yoga has helped me a lot and just kind of those gentle neck stretches once I'm feeling tight. But that's really about it. I know, like, because showmanship is in my near future, obviously, with all around stuff. So I'm like, I need to start doing some cardio because I haven't ran in a hot minute. I'm not really looking forward to it, but I am at the same time. I just have to, like, kinda make myself get out there, but within due time.
Yeah, for sure. And then you're totally right about trying to look down as little as possible. Your body will adapt to the positions that you put it in, no matter if you're trying to do that or not. But if you're constantly sitting at a desk where your shoulders are rounded forward and your head and your neck is looking down, then you're training your body to be in that position and your body's going to listen to it. And also, if you're constantly looking down at the phone, then you're craning your neck forward. So that's really important and really good that you've been trying really hard and kind of change your daily habits so that way you don't struggle with that quite as much. Because with any sort of neck type of injury, keeping your spine in alignment is so important for not re-injuring yourself. So that piece is super important. So it's really good that you're doing the chiropractic, doing the massage, doing yoga. Like even though you're not, you said that you'd love to be exercising more. It sounds like you're doing the things that you need to do to keep your neck healthy, which is setting you up for success when you go to ride because I'm sure that you notice a difference in your daily life and in your riding when you're not keeping up on those things.
Oh, absolutely. Like, if I'm not keeping up on it, like say I go, a week without just stretching or doing the yoga, I certainly feel it, especially when I go to do lead changes, your hands are up, especially teaching, let me rephrase that. Teaching one to do lead changes. You're so much more forward and your hands are higher and they're up here because you want to guide that nose and I that's when I really feel it is when, we're going somewhere. And I feel it in my hips too, so and I struggle with my hip flexors a lot too, so I have to do I think Jenna was talking about it in the Add More Leg group today about stretching those hip flexors and bending one knee and kind of squatting down.
Yeah, actually, she was.
Yes, yes, and I was like, "I need to do that today." So
So I have a question for you. Did you notice that your hips were starting to get more tight and less mobile after your neck injury?
that is a great question, and I have never thought about it like that, but yes. Yes, they did.
So there's a reason for that. The body is all connected. So the body is called the kinetic chain. And think of like a chain, right? Like the top link is connected to the bottom link, right? And even though they're really far away from each other, what happens at the top chain is going to impact what happens to the chain next to it and then the chain next to it. And it's going to travel all the way down and cause compensations and cause issues and cause tightnesses and cause weaknesses. So, because your neck has an injury and because your neck muscles are tighter, that's going to impact your spine all the way down. Your body is also going to try to protect the neck as much as possible. So when the hips are moving fluidly for a full range of motion, it causes a lot of motion through the rest of the spine. As long as everything is working properly and there's no injuries, then that's perfect. That's what we want, right? For one, in our daily life, for our functionality of our bodies, but then also for riding. You'll notice that riders who typically don't have a great position, it doesn't really matter where, they'll usually have some sort of a tightness that's inhibiting their ability to flow freely with the horse. And because your body is trying to protect the neck and restrict motion through the neck, you have subconsciously learned to keep your hips tighter to protect your neck. Had you thought of it like that before?
And no, I just thought I was getting old. Yes, I never thought about it like that, but I mean, it makes sense.
Well, okay. I mean, I guess I'm guessing, right? Like I've never seen you move or, seen you ride or seen you exercise or anything like that, but I could almost guarantee that that's what's happening.
And you're absolutely right. Like it just kind of like, oh my God, so that makes sense, because afterwards, yes, I've always kind of had some hip problems, just tightness, but I would say it's been more consistent after that neck injury. And I've really had to pay attention to it, through stretching our SIs and those hip flexors. I don't know if those are the same thing. I'm just using horse terminology here, but that area is just very tight. And yeah, so that's amazing to that you say that and it just kind of connected those dots. Like I think you nailed it.
Yeah. So, I mean, working on your hip mobility and your hip strength is obviously going to help with the hips, but as long as your body is always compensating for your neck injury, you know what I mean? It's like you'd be treating the symptom by increasing and strengthening your hips, but you wouldn't be treating like the cause of it. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. So, just kind of an interesting thought.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up to date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.